at least a dozen or so.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I personally, those are some of my favorite matches of all time. Like when you were pulling Marcio over there, that 6 rounds with Neil, that was just unbelievable. The wars you guys had.
No, I still amaze myself that I won those matches from those positions. But Marcio is a warrior, so it's fun. It's always fun to pull him.
Yeah, because he's known maybe not as much. Well, he's known for being a very technical, fast arm wrestler, but he gets tied up. He's still an absolute animal, and
No, he can.
yeah, he can burn with the rest of them. I mean, he can get in there for long, long matches and be very, very difficult.
Yeah.
One of the few heavyweights that isn't just has that speed, the hand, and the ability to really sink down inside and really push. It's a rare thing to see these days. Anyway, I love seeing that.
Yeah.
Do you think, Mike, that do you think you've gained some kind of unique experience traveling as much as you have? And a lot of the bigger names in the United States haven't done much. I mean, Alan Fisher's brought up a lot as not having traveled, someone who would probably do really well overseas. And, some of the heavyweights did in past days, Travis being an example. But you seem to maintain a pretty continuous effort to travel and pull with people in other areas and other countries. Do you think that, provides you with an advantage of any kind?
I mean, it probably helps me in a one-on-one format, because I've done so many super matches. Mm-hmm. But, man, here's the deal. I don't care how old you are. If you haven't traveled, you haven't lived. And if I can travel on someone else's dime, I'm all for it.
There you go. Exactly. So let's. You just brought up an interesting point of the one-on-one matches. You were always a great tournament puller, and I always enjoyed seeing you in wars. But it's really tough to have wars over and over again. And then this, the popularity of the one-on-one super match became something that was a reality in our sport. And certain guys like yourself and Devin, who were really good at getting in positions and just, really just sticking it out, started really coming ahead of the curve. How did that feel when did you feel like you finally had a real home in arm wrestling, or is it just a different type of enjoyment?
I love one-on-one pulling. I love getting hold of one guy and going hard as we can in the first match. And in my mind tells me if I can stop the guy, I can beat him. Now, Truman was a very unique case, man. I mean, he wasn't offensive with me. And the matches, him and Devin are the only two people who, once a match stops, finds a way around me, But yeah, I love arm wrestling that way. Like I'd love to be able to win the overall Nimrod World Cup, but I don't know if I could. I don't know if I can win the heavyweight division and then go win the open category. That's a lot of pulling, and especially the way people always ask me, why don't you hit? I'm like, dude, I do. That's why I don't get slammed, because I hit to try to keep from getting slammed. I wish I could finish the matches faster. It's just I'm not really designed that way, I guess. I mean, I got a really good left hand. As far as my hit goes, I can finish people pretty quick. And right-handed, if you're not at my level, then I can crack you pretty fast. But once I get to someone, that's the same level as I am, we're going to be in a war, So I don't know if I answered your question or not, but I love 6-round format. I do want to go chase that overall World Cup just because that's a big badass cup, and I want it.
Sure, it's something new. It's something new to do, and yeah, your style, like you said, you do hit as hard as you can. Sometimes, but that's just not the way you're built. You're one of the few arm wrestlers who's been around the game for a long, long time, who completely redesigned your style, which is pretty rare. A lot of guys who they built a style and they continue it and they get better and better and better, and then, that's who they are. You're a guy who you injured your left arm. Yeah. And you had to redesign how you pulled for a little while, and then it just kind of stuck. That's what it seemed like anyway. What was the process like from going from this guy who was really an incredible defensive hooking arm wrestler to a guy who's an incredible defensive top rolling arm wrestler?
It was a cool experience, man. I mean, I always loved to just get in there and whoever the strongest guy was wins, right? But when that left arm blew apart, I couldn't pull on the hand peg, because hell, the arm was all destroyed. So I had this Marpa kinetic rope pulling machine that I pulled on pretty regular, and it was helping my rotation. So I just started rotating off the back and trying to spin. Well, then, because of the limited range of motion of my right arm, I couldn't get my hand close to my shoulder. So for me to get my hand high, I had to drop down and get a higher hand. And it just kind of stuck, man. I still think I can beat 90% of the people with traditional arm wrestling. It's just when I get someone who is very, very, very strong, my rotation is going to slip, get the strap, and then I'm going to try to just crank my hand back as far as I can, stop them before they pin me. And I never drop low to stop somebody. I'll stop somebody my shoulder above the table. It's just if I try to pull you back, I'm going to have to drop my shoulder, I mean, I was watching a match with me and Tim, the PAL posted today, and the whole time I'm stopped, shoulder above the table, holding the guy. But then for me to try to pull him back up, I have to dip down. And if you go back and watch most of all my matches, the stop, it's not like I'm dropping below the table to stop you or anything. I'm just trying to catch you before you pin me and then transition back. But I don't know, man. I feel that top roll and that move feels natural to me now. Like, I forget how to hook. Like, I don't know how to force you into a hook.
Sure.
I can hit a shoulder press pretty good still.
Right.
But as far as just if you and I were to go into a hook match and I felt like, there's a weakness in your wrist, and I'm naturally going to roll your wrist. I'm not going to just stay in a hook. I don't know why. It's where it goes now.
Well, I mean, that's just good arm wrestling, really. I mean, we had Devin on, and he said, there's always that guy. It's like, well, could you beat that guy in hook? And he's like, this is arm wrestling, man. I could beat him in arm wrestling. It doesn't matter. If there's a move to use and it's within the rules, then I'm sorry. Why wouldn't anybody use it?
Amen.
It's no different than Jerry with the flop press.
The more dominant your move is, the more likely there's going to be a large number of people who complain about it for some reason. I mean, Jerry Cataret's the same way. He can arm wrestle a bunch of different ways. When it comes down to the top guys, he uses his flop wrist, and it drives people nuts. But he does it because it's his best move, and that's why you do it, and that's why everybody who's really good, especially dominant in one technique, goes back to it when they need it. That's what it's there for. Yeah, Devin actually talked a lot about the King's move last week, Mike, saying that he found it to be a very legitimate technique and that people that were complaining about it should go out and learn how to do it instead of whining about not being able to deal with it or calling it unfair or what have you. He talked about you and Crazy George and said that he, training with Crazy George so much, it had given him a lot of respect for the technique. And, I think that similar to Jerry's flop press or any kind of move that people don't like, it's one of those things that, it's the traditionalists. They like the only real technique is a hook, but the reality is the sport's moving on.
Yep.
No, it's no different. It's just ability. I mean, you don't ever see somebody in the UFC just doing one thing because that's the thing to do. You just use the tools you have. And if it's within the rules, it's within the rules, man. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think I was telling Josh at Nationals, I'm the most hated guy in arm wrestling that's not trying to be hated. Like Magtel, obviously, he doing that shit on purpose.
Sure.
You either love me or you hate me, man. There's really no in between. Either people like me or they don't. And I'm cool with all of it. I just hate it when these douchebags get online and make stupid comments or derogatory shit, and I would just wish they'd say that to my face.
Yeah, and it's tough too. Like when they're not ever they don't really even have any plans to compete with you. Like that's the thing that's kind of like you never really hear anybody who is at that level or chasing that level for real really ever get on anybody's case for any of those moves. I mean, they might not like them, but they don't ever say like that's not legitimate. That guy should be banned. There's nothing of that kind, or even obviously the worst of the internet trolls, but. We don't even give those guys the time of day, really, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, Devin said the same thing. It's like the higher you get in a new level, the more you appreciate varying techniques instead of, disrespecting them. You just say, I wish I could do that kind of thing. But I mean, whatever. People, there's always, Mike, you deal with it a lot more than probably most people because you're at the top of the lists, top 10 worldwide, so you're going to get a lot more scrutiny than someone like John or myself is. Regardless, but I mean, I like your attitude with it. We did talk about it at Nationals, and I mean, I found you to be very down to earth and open about talking about the King's move and all kinds of issues with arm wrestling. That's why I thought it would be fun to have you come on here, and I also really appreciated your openness with the training techniques that you use. There's people asking questions about it right now, and one guy in particular is curious, named Tyler, about do you train? When you're training for a super match versus a tournament, are there specific things you do to get ready for a 6-match war versus a tournament?
I probably should do something different, but I don't. I do the exact same thing all the time, man. After losing to Truman, I have to step my game up because I was just doing just enough to stay, top the heap or whatever. I mean, I felt like in one-on-one format, I was the best arm wrestler in the world. Over me against any other one guy, I felt over 6 rounds I was going to win. And Truman out-arm wrestled me. And that rarely happens. Someone may be stronger than me, but rarely are they going to, out-arm wrestle me. Once the match stops, I'm generally going to out-counter my opponent. I'm going to out-maneuver. I'm going to find a way to win. And that guy just beat me. So, but yeah, no one ever believes when I tell them what I do. I do chest one day, back one day, legs one day, arms one day, shoulders one day. At the end of each workout, I come upstairs to my little rope pulling machine and I pull for 250 feet on that at the highest resistance. That's about 10 minutes. So the last 5 or 6 years, I haven't weight trained longer than 10 minutes, and then I do 10 minutes of rope pulling. And I may do a couple little wrists, like I get this wrist roller that James Smith made me. It's got some softballs on it, 100-something pounds, and I'll roll that like 5 times in a row. And that's it. I do need to start doing more stuff. Now, Mike Moeller just sent me this amazing handle that I'm going to shoot some videos with tonight. And I love it because it's got you just slide your whole hand into it, and it's got all the different hooks to it. I did it the other day just doing one-arm rows with my back. Loved the way it felt. So I'm going to hook it up tonight and do some pulls. I'm going to use a lot of that, I think. I've always been blessed with a lot of people sending me cool stuff to practice with.
Sure.
Like Mizurenko handle or the wrist wrench. That's not necessarily the style of pulling that I'm doing. I'm not, cranking someone in this way. But hell, it can't hurt, right?
No, definitely not. Blood in the right places. I was there in Vegas when you pulled Truman. I was there on Timmy's corner while he pulled Vovoda. Even though you lost, it was a phenomenal match. I loved watching it because it was just a great fight. And the thing that impressed me the most about Truman, obviously he's a phenomenal arm wrestler, super strong, smart, but he looked like he was dying in the corner. And I'm like, he's done. He had one hard match, and he's done. And then they get up there and do it again. When you sit down in between rounds, or if you don't sit down, do you feel more tired than when you're actually pulling? Because I sometimes feel that way. Like after I'm done pulling, I'm like, oh man, I'm dead. And then I get to the table and I'm fine again. Do you ever get that?
Yeah. I never sat down in between rounds against Truman. So all I felt was I was pissed. I was like, shit, I think I'm going to lose. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I could think of for, 20 minutes was how do I keep this young kid from beating me? But yeah, I guess, you get winded in the middle of a match. You step off. There's been so many matches. Of all the matches I've had, there's been so many matches that I've thought about quitting in the middle of the match, just giving up and letting the guy pin me. And then immediately it goes through my head, well, hell, if I'm thinking about quitting, I know that dude's thinking about quitting. So it's just not in me to let up, right? I'm going to pull to the end. But as far as being tired, more tired when I'm sitting down or at the match, shit, I don't feel it. Here's what happens. If I, say the first match, we slip, strap, whatever, I'll stop the dude and beat him. Actually pin them after they got into their power or whatever. Like when I pulled push card, I had no exhaustion in between rounds because I'm on cloud 9 because I just beat this dude. So I just knew I was going to do that 5 more times. And none of the fatigue or anything set in until the next day when I had this burn on my arm from the strap. And, when my mind, I tell people all the time, I'm nervous the week before a tournament. I'm thinking about quitting and retiring and, hey, I've done enough. I don't need to prove anything else. I hate this sport. I don't want to do it. And until the first match happens, I'm just this nervous wreck. And there is 2 versions of me. There's the normal Michael Todd, and then when the match stops and it's a big match like that, and we slip and I realize I deserve to be in the match, that's the whole monster side of me. There's a whole different me once I realize I actually deserve to be in that match. Yeah. And, it just kind of takes over, and I don't feel anything until it's over.
I think I saw that in the last UAL event with that awesome match that you and Jerry had that you won. I thought that was great too. I love watching you guys pull just because those 2 very unusual styles, and they sort of feed into one another. You guys that tend to have these massive wars, and it just seems like it can go either way. But I feel like the strategy takes over at some point, and I think you outlasted them that last time.
Yeah, no, that hurts me horribly bad in a tournament, right?
Yeah.
But had me and Jerry had that match fresh, hell, we'd have probably done it a couple more times because it took enough out of my initial hit to where I wouldn't have been able to hit him out of his shoulder he'd have jumped on my arm again. I'd had to catch him and then find a way to pull him back around, But yeah, I mean, Jerry's always fun to pull. He's always a threat too. I was a little disappointed in watching him pull Chafee at the last event because I saw that practice of them pulling, and I saw him top rolling Dave, and I'm like, why the hell are you still bench pressing when Dave stops that move cold? Why are you not trying to top roll him? Because he looked really very effective in that practice pulling.
I agree. There's a few people up here who think he might be saving that for the finals because he knew they were both going there. But I guess we'll find out in a couple weeks.
I mean, that's a good strategy. I never have a strategy of losing. You know what I'm saying? I hate losing. And people ask me all the time, how do you win these long matches? And I'm telling them it's my sheer disgust for losing. 99.9% outweighs my opponent's desire to win. I hate losing. You know what I'm saying? It just sucks. I'd rather not even play if I'm going to lose. I hate losing.
Yeah, I remember hearing an interview with Devin right before he pulled you. I think it was 2012 you guys pulled.
2000.
Okay. And I remember him being interviewed by, I think, John Milne. And he said, do you think you want to win more than Michael Todd? And he said, I never question if I want to win more than anybody except for this time. I'm not sure who wants to win more. So I think that's a pretty big, that's a pretty powerful statement from somebody who also has that will, someone who can really get in there and just, he's not going to give it up. And I think a testament to you not wanting to give up no matter what was in, I don't know, you were pulling Arm Wars, but I don't know when your arm did come apart. Can you kind of tell people exactly what happened?
Well, I knew my arm was injured, and the doctor told me it was a muscle tear. And even in my interview before, I said, hey, my arm might break tomorrow, but we're going to find out. I said, I think I got the best shoulder press in the world. This guy's won multiple WF world titles shoulder pressing people, and I'm going to hit this dude in the shoulder press,
Right.
And I don't warm up because I've got so many injuries, so I don't do any warming up before I arm wrestle because I feel like if I feel any type of twinge or tweak or anything, I won't go 100% when they say go. Mm-hmm. So ready to go. I shot this dude in the press, looked in the camera, started streaming because I knew this thing was going to go out to 60-something countries and 30-something languages, and pow. The medial collateral ligament ripped off the bone, the flexor mass rolled up my forearm, my elbow dislocated like 6 inches. But what it was, the doctor misdiagnosed me. He says a muscle tear, and it's actually a partially torn ligament. So as soon as I hit that spot, it just, boom, completely tore.
Yeah, because a lot of people think, I've heard a lot of people, obviously incorrectly think that it was your right arm that fell apart because you're always known for getting in those crazy positions, and they go, well, that's what you get. And I'm like, well, it wasn't even that arm. So I don't think your right arm's ever really going to come apart. It seems like it's pretty stiff.
No, I mean, the right has never been under the knife or anything. And I only got x-rayed. It's only been x-rayed a couple times. When they did my left arm, I said, hey, go ahead and x-ray my right arm, just see what it looks like. And the doctor came back with this just bewildered look on his face. He's like, that's the worst x-ray I've ever seen in my life. He said, I got over 70 fractures in your elbow. He said, I don't even know how you have a functioning joint anymore. And that was 6 years ago, so it's worse now.
Yeah, it's not going to get any better. So is that just basically just calcification in the right arm? Yeah,
man. So this is the point of my elbow right here. This is extra bone growth from fractures. All of this extra bone space here. That's the point of the elbow, and this is extra bone. So, yeah, and the thing, this is as far as it closes. That's as far as it opens. I mean, it literally will not come any closer than that. So that makes the shoulder press really hard if you can't get any closer.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But, yeah.
That's fascinating, man. There's a guy asking a question right now online. I think that what you just showed is a partial answer to it. But what he says is he's trying to understand your technique. And it seems that you never give up on the pronation, but you don't really push the flexion of the wrist. Can you further explain? I think the arm stuff you just showed us is a partial explanation about. And speaking of the wrist specifically, is that something that you do try to do?
All I want to do is be able to see the back side of my hand. So we're arm wrestling, right? Yep. And they hit. If I can just see the back of my hand anywhere, I can win the match. It's just when this happens is when I'm in trouble. But if I can twist this way at all, so I don't care so much about this. As long as I can get this,
Right.
as long as I can rotate out, especially in the strap, right? Now, with a tight strap, not that loose-ass strap they had against Truman. You know what I'm saying? But you put me in a tight strap where my wrist goes, my opponent's wrist goes the opposite way, right? So normally that's it. You know, I don't have all these tricks in the strap like Devin and Travis and all them. Like my stepson Ryan, he's watching all those videos and learning that. I don't know any of that. I just want fucking duct tape me to somebody. That's all. Just wrap us up and somebody say go. I don't know how to do all that stuff. Yeah. I just want a tight strap.
Well, I think your technique does really well in the strap, so that might be why you haven't had, like, a lot of us have to master it because our technique isn't necessarily the best in the straps, but I think yours is very well suited for it. How much rest do you take before a tournament? Tyler would like to know.
Okay, so like if it's a super match or vendetta, I will train up to the Friday the week before. Right, but so we went to this little Shreveport tournament, and I trained Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then legs on Tuesday, and then I trained Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, rested, did legs on Wednesday, and then I rested. So I just did like chest and back. Oh, maybe I did. I did chest and back on Sunday, arms on Monday, shoulders on Tuesday, legs on Wednesday. And I stopped my rope pulling on Tuesday, I think.
Okay.
But normally, if it's a big event, I don't do anything the week before.
I see. Yeah, I think that's, a lot of people seem to be, like, that week to 10 days seems to be the magic amount of time that most people take off, John Brown being the exception, of course. I heard you talking about the chest, and this other guy on here, Soriano, is curious what you think the most important muscles on arm wrestling are.
Well, I think the biggest muscle used in arm wrestling is your back, but it doesn't matter how strong your back is if your hand and wrist won't support that load, right? So the most important is going to be your wrist and your hand. And I mean, when I say your hand, I'm not talking about your finger clamp. Like I can't close a number 3 gripper. Mm-hmm. So it's not about squeezing strength; it's about clamping strength. And if you listen to Devin and all them, they say you don't want to be the guy holding on to the other guy. So in my strap, I don't. And if I'm pulling somebody who's not as strong as me, then I'll clamp with my hand. But mainly, I mean, your wrist is key. Whether it's turning here or turning here,
right.
Just this ability to do something with. But yeah, my back. Like I was with Christian Benny, he says don't train pull-ups. But I train pull-ups.
Yeah.
He says it's a different. You're pulling. I don't know. He tried to explain it. It didn't make a lot of sense to me, but that's how he works. I don't do a lot of things that aren't arm wrestling. Like I don't do wrist curls where you lay your arm across the bench and wrist curl. If I'm going to do any type of wrist curl, it's going to be from this position right here. Because this is arm wrestling. I'm never going to be over here doing that. That's not going to be an arm wrestling position I'm going to be in.
Right.
I train rope curls pretty heavy. Like I just, grab the rope from the cable and just curl and crunch it like this because that's the motion I want to do, when I'm arm wrestling. I mean, back, I still think backs, you got to have a strong back. I want to control the center of the table, hand peg to hand peg. I want to at least be in the center. I want you on my side. So I don't know if that answered your question, but that's.
Absolutely. Do you think, well, I don't want you to give away too much of your strategy, but I mean, are you focusing on any specific area preparing for your big match with Saipunkov?
Oh, yeah, you can give away all the strategy you want. I'm going to win. My strategy is to not get pinned. That really sums it all up. It's the same Michael Todd you've seen every time before. I'm going to be prepared. I'm going to rope pull a lot. I'm going to do that new handle that Mike made me. Actually, Brady Ellis is making me a half table, a training table that I'm going to use on that because I've watched Craig use his, and it looks like you can get a little bit better range if you're doing something like table curl type stuff. I don't do a lot of that, but I just think it'll take up half the amount of space in my gym. That's why I'm getting the half table because we train clients out there now, and I just need the extra space. But I'm gonna be using that a lot. I'm gonna use that handle every time I can, any angle I can use it. I just need to be now. Dennis is someone. Okay, so the version of me that pulled Truman,
right?
That version of me would have beat Dennis. Would have beat Andre in my mind. I can't say anything's a fact, but my opinion is I was strong enough to where I could have beat any one of those guys. Truman, I needed to be more of an athlete. I needed to have better cardio. I needed to have I just needed to be more of an athlete when I pulled Truman versus this 285, 90 pound, not in the best shape version of me. But that guy was really strong. That version of me was really strong. And that version of me, I believe, beats some Playoff and Andre because they're not as – although Dennis is an athlete and looks awesome, sure, it takes a lot of blood to fill up those muscles, and he's going to pump up real fast.
Yeah.
So I believe all I have to do is beat Dennis the first time, then I could beat him 1,000 matches in a row. Same thing with Andre. All I got to do is beat him once, and I don't think he ever gets a win on me. So am I going to be as strong July 16th as I was when I pulled Truman? I don't know. I can't. I don't know if I'm going to be. I'm pretty focused on this match, but I don't think I'm as diehard as I should be. Well, I mean, they haven't really officially announced it. What I'm saying? Yeah. Like they put it on that poster, right? But there hasn't been the Michael versus Dennis chat, right? You've seen the one of Dmitry Vasiliev and Bresnan and Chris Chandler and Zoliev and all those other people. But I guess as soon as they officially announce it, I'm running out of time. I got 6 weeks or something? Yeah. 6 weeks from this weekend. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. And see, I'm the only super heavyweight probably that watches what he eats. I'm not in a weight class. I should be 350 pounds, but I don't want to be fat. You know what I'm saying? I hate being fat. Yeah. And I'm not in the greatest shape right now. I'm like 265 or something. But I like being fit. But the version of me that beat Pushkar was 258. I mean, I was just a very fit 258, right. I don't know.
Do you think that, I know that you sometimes try to put on some extra muscle mass and stuff for certain matches. Do you find that that's like a very important thing for you to consider when you're getting these bigger matches, or do you focus more on just the standard stuff and not so much worrying about what your weight is going to be?
I've probably focused more on the standard stuff. I should just say to hell with it and just eat like a super heavyweight, right? Eat 10, 15,000 calories a day and eat a bunch of steak and stuff. But I don't. I should, if I just cared about being strong. But I think I can be 98% as strong being fit at 255, 260 as I could be at 280 or 290 and be twice as confident because I like myself.
Right.
Versus not liking the way the shirt fits because I feel like I'm fat.
Sure.
I don't know. I'm weird like that. If you ask Neil Pickup, he says I'm the most emotional puller he's ever seen, just because I'm telling you, if I'm not right in the head, I'm not right for the table. The problem, if you're ever pulling against a confident version of me, that's a very dangerous person to be arm wrestling against. Because once I'm confident, I believe that I'm the best in the world. Nobody can beat me.
Yeah, the
visualization is incredibly important. I mean, there's a lot of people that I think that are in a similar space to you, Mike, who are very dominant, but that the little bit of change in the mental aspect can determine whether they win or lose. I mean, RVJ is another guy who comes to mind who's a very emotional puller. I interrupted you, John. Sorry. What were you going to say?
I was just going to pretty much just say exactly what you said. Don't worry about it. For the first time, we agree, Josh.
All right. Yes. All right. We got a question coming in from Sweden for you, Mike, from Christian. He says he's curious to know which fight you thought was tougher, the one you had with Devin or the one you had against Trubin.
The match against Devin was more important to me because it was for the overall undisputed number one spot in the world. So that match was more important to me when I pulled it. When they set me up for Pushkar, I was training for Pushkar for the overall number one spot in the world. And then when he backed out and they put Trubin in, I'm competing for a title I already had. I didn't have the same drive. Now, Devin's going to hate me for this, but I think the Trubin that there is right now, the one I just got through pulling, beats the Devin that beat me in 2011. Just because he's so strong, Yeah. He's pretty much got the same leverage advantage as, same levers as Devin does. He just got a load of horsepower behind it. So,
how do you think the match between he and Pushkar is going to go?
6-0 or 5-1 Trubin. I mean, I can't see it going any other way. If it does, then, I'm wrong. But to me, Truman is the number one guy in the world.
Well, you're not the first. Pretty much everybody we've asked has given the same answer, Mike, and it's interesting to me that you guys all think that because, I mean, we're basing it on, the matches they had in the middle of a big tournament. And I think
I'm
that,
basing it on the guy that I arm wrestled 3 months ago.
yeah, obviously you have a much better perspective on it than most people, having just pulled him, and you pulled. Well, you didn't get a chance to pull Pushkar, but I think you guys must see something because you're all saying the same thing: 6-0 or 5-1.
Well, here's the deal. Neil Pickup and I talked the Tuesday before Nimrod. There's Lottie, Truman. Rebecca was asking me 6-0 who. She's saying, yeah, Truman's going to win 6-0. And I told him before the match ever happened, watch out for Truman. He's going to give Pushkar trouble. And Neil Pickup told me I was crazy. I'm like, that dude's got the leverage. And as soon as he cracked Pushkar's hand back, I was like, oh, yeah. Because I'm watching this thing thinking I'm pulling Pushkar next. And I just needed somebody else to crack his hand back because I knew if they could do it, I could do it.
Right.
So I'm sitting there watching that match going crazy because I'm about to whoop Pushkar's ass, But yeah, so I knew Truman was dangerous. And people, Truman beat Brzezinski when he weighed 209 6-0.
Right.
I don't care who you are or what form John Brzezinski's in. Very few people have ever beat John Brzezinski 6-0. Mm-hmm. And he did it at 24 years old, weighing 209. And then the next year he wins the 220s and gets suspended. He gets banned for 2 years for juice. And I pull him weighing 273.
Right.
A 273-pound Truman is a very dangerous individual. You know what I'm saying? I don't care. I mean, that guy is very, 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 very dangerous. I'm telling you, there's no safe place to go against him.
I think one thing that's having watched a lot of Pushkar's and a lot of Truman's matches, Truman definitely has a wide variety of techniques that you started in the match against you. He's pulling out all kinds of different stuff. Where Truman Pushkar just has that one gigantic, powerful hit that he has, and if you stop it, you tend to do very well against him. Whereas Truman is more like a technique department store. He's got all kinds of tricks in his basket.
Well, I also think Pushkar's going to run into the same thing that I had. Truman wants it more. Pushkar is pulling for a title he already has. Truman wants that title.
Right.
So it's hard to be, when you're the guy on top or you're the guy that's got the title or whatever, it's hard to be as pumped as the guy that's chasing the title, And I'm telling you, the only way Pushkar can win is if he smacks this dude 6 times. Because as soon as the match stops, Truman's going to crush him. Yeah. I mean, Truman's got as good of endurance as I do, and Pushkar doesn't.
Sure.
And I don't think there's a big gap in strength. I think the strength is very close.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, because I
what I expect to happen is whoever wins between me and Dennis will pull the winner, Andre and Truman, for the unified overall. I mean, whoever wins between them is overall number one anyway.
Sure.
But I believe whoever wins between me and Dennis gets that crack.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an interesting thought too. The aftermath of no matter what happens, really. Are you really, like, in your mind? What are you thinking about? Pulling Truman again. Do you have a whole new perspective on that young man, or is it going to be just maybe mentally a little bit different for you?
I'm going to be more fit when I pull him. Once we slip and go to the strap, I'm going to clamp my hand on him versus floating my hand, and I'm going to just demand that they use their strap that's got the leather flap and the metal buckle, because it's the same strap that I break every time, but they change the buckle to a metal buckle that won't break.
Okay.
That strap does not loosen up the way that black WF strap that Leonard had loosens up. I still think if the strap wouldn't have broke or you broke out that other strap, I think I would have beat Truman 6-0 that day. I think the reason he beat me is because he walked 2 inches out of the strap on top of my hand, But that's just my opinion. But yeah, I hope to pull him again. I'm gonna be honest, dude. I want to pull him soon before he gets too damn strong. I want to beat that dude and then retire. Seriously, I'm not joking. I mean, 27 years old. I'll be 43 in 11 days. Now, clearly, arm wrestlers peak 40 to 45. I mean, my career is by far no means is it over.
Right.
But I think, honestly, if Dimitri stays healthy, yeah, it's going to be really hard to beat that dude. But I would like another crack at him in the next 6 months or 6 months. Yeah, 6 months. 6 months. I mean, if I can pull him in 6 months and I stay healthy, I think I can come out on top. But if I can beat Dennison to beat him, I don't know what's next.
Yeah.
Someone asked me if I'd pull WAL. I mean, I love Robert Drink in the UAL. If he's got something going, I'm sticking with that. But who knows? I mean, I'd like to go to the Nimrod Cup. I'd like to go to the Zloty or whatever. Who knows? I don't know.
We'll talk about the WL thing a little bit, Mike. What's kept you out of it so far?
Well, I was contracted with the UAL first, right?
Right.
So because of that, I just wasn't eligible, and I wasn't going to leave. I wasn't going to, get out of my UAL contract to go to WAL because Robert Drink, I consider him a friend, and he has allowed me some of the most amazing life experiences I've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife, he's allowed us amazing life experiences.
Sure.
The only 2 times I've ever flown on a private jet were with Robert. I was 5 rows back when Anderson Silva's leg snapped in half at the UFC because of Robert.
Okay,
He's treated me really well, and I wasn't going to just jump ship because there was some TV and $10,000 or whatever. Now I'm gonna be honest. Every time I watch that shit, I'm mad as hell.
Of course,
because I'm not on it.
Right.
And the first time they gave out those Thor hammers, oh my God, that tore. Because I'm an award. I like shiny things. Anything that says you're awesome, I want it. So the $10,000, I didn't get that. Didn't get the thing. I didn't compete the next year for 20. Well, last Christmas, Rebecca had contacted. I guess it's Mike. What it made? You know who made the hammer? Well, I know. Was that Mike Moeller? Was that who made the axe? Or who made the hammers? Do you know?
I don't know.
Whoever it was. Rebecca contacted him. And Pitts. Was it John Pitts? John Pitts. Yeah. Ryan Pitts. I don't know where I got John. Ryan Pitts. And she had ordered me this Thor hammer, right? And it says, to the best husband in the world, king of everything, I love you, Rebecca, right? So she's had this thing ordered for like 3 months. It comes in, and about a week before, she's like, honey, do you like sentimental gifts or do you like something practical? And I'm like, oh, practical. I don't want any sentimental shit. And so she's freaking out. Oh, my God, I spent all this money on this hammer. And I opened that thing up, and that was like the greatest gift ever. She clearly didn't think it very well because for about the first month, every time she said anything, I held it up and said, king of everything. You know what I'm saying? So that's honestly, I'm looking over at my shelf right now with all my world titles on it, and that hammer sits right in front of it because I got my Thor hammer. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, there's the other part about the WALs. I feel like they've already got their favorites. I feel like I'd be coming late to the party. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Who knows? I have no idea what the future holds.
Well, you are the last guy to have the
movies. That's what I want.
The movies. There you go.
That's it.
All right.
If I can parlay arm wrestling into some movie roles, that'll make me happy.
That's all it takes.
I think it would be interesting, Mike, because you're the last guy in the United States to have wins on Dave Chafee,
Yeah, I mean, Dave's a very strong competitor. I still think I'm capable of slipping. The thing is, if I can slip, I feel like I can beat you. If I think I can slip, I think I get, especially on those WAL 9-inch elbow pads.
Oh, God, yeah.
I think it gives me an extra 2 inches I can drag back to stop his sideways momentum, I think I can fare well against him. I respect Dave a lot. He's an awesome dude. But, yeah, I mean, I'd like to pull him.
Maybe we'll get to see it, if they stick around another few years.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Like I said, I mean, I'm on a per match contract with the PAL.
Right.
So I signed per match. So I'm not tied to anything. I can do whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of WAL, and an interesting thing you brought up was, that arm wrestlers seem to peak in their mid-40s for some reason. Maybe not in their mid-40s, this person I'm talking about, but what do you think about Ron Bath lately being just looking great?
He looks awesome.
Yeah.
Ron's ability to step up when it's time to step up has always inspired me. Yeah, he's doing great. I mean, clearly Devin's the favorite going to the finals.
Yeah.
But Ron Bath can get pretty nasty with you, so you never know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, seeing the way Ron pulled Matt Mask
I was about to say the same thing.
And seeing the way
then you see how
Devin had
pulled
to,
him.
it looked like to me Ron Bath had a little more control of Matt. I don't know. But
Controlled him pretty well. He controlled him pretty well.
It's very, very interesting. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I can't wait to see those wars because Ron is one of those guys too. When you talk about endurance and you talk about Devin, Ron is right up there, all-time greats of endurance in a hard match. So I can't wait to see him get hungry in the middle of that table and see what happens. You know, Ron's been around. He's not gonna get intimidated by that. You know.
Well, they had a great match last year, and they both look better this year, so it's even more interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Because Matt was an impressive puller, and to see Ron beat him like that was very impressive to me.
Yeah. Ridiculous. It's just awesome.
Yeah, and seeing the way Ron's been, the way he pulled Chris Chandler, he really wasn't running away from his arm. You know, he's been going into his arm a little bit too. It's not just keeping him flat like a lot of people do, and he looks really good, and Chris looks really good too. So I think that 225-pound class is really shaping up to be pretty interesting.
Yeah, it definitely can be.
Now, we know you could make that weight, even though you basically have to torture yourself to do it. Would you ever consider, if you went to the WL, doing the 225s again?
Probably not.
Yeah.
I'd probably just be big.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, though, I think if I was 225 and I maintained that weight for a little bit, not just crash to get there, like if I was there for a couple of months in advance, I think I'd have a good shot lefty. I can't win the super heavyweight left because I don't see me beating Travis left-handed.
Yeah.
But the last time I pulled Eric Lefel, now I pulled Eric Lefel for years, and the only time I ever beat him was at UAL 8. But I smacked him, you know what I'm saying? And I beat Topi that day, and I beat a lot of people left-handed. My shoulder press is pretty deadly if it hit. You know, my left arm's on. It's pretty good. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't see me ever doing. Now, I mean, I like a fitter version of me because I like being an athlete. I like doing cool shit. So watching American Ninja Warrior makes me want to like, okay, if I get down to 220, I can win that damn thing. Because I love that stuff, dude. I love the obstacle course. I love the challenge. I mean, I don't know what's in my future, man. I honestly don't. I tell people all the time, I'm one bad meal away from being a 500 to 600 pound bedridden person. That's true though. I mean, because I have a horrible addiction to food, and I love food, and I could snowball very easily. Fortunately, we make a very good living off transforming people, so I'm assuming they don't want a fat trainer.
Yeah.
So I kind of got to do that. But you know, I could I'm either end of the spectrum. I could stay here. I could get really fat, or I could get really fit. I mean, depends on what mood I'm in, I guess.
Yeah.
But
that's a fair enough answer, man. All right, let me try to get a couple more questions in here. People have been asking a lot of stuff about other arm wrestlers, just your opinions of them, that kind of stuff. One here is, what do you think of RVJ versus Hutchings right hand with RVJ winning? Were you surprised by that?
I was impressed by it. I wasn't surprised by it. I was impressed by it. I would like to see him do it best out of three versus Todd trying to slip and RVJ pushing him straight down to the pad. But RVJ pulled very, very well that day because Storm Chelino busted his ass that first match, and he found a way back around it, you know. So that impressed me more. Not him beating Todd, but him coming back after Storm busted him outside. That was more impressive to me, or you know. But yeah, Todd's awesome. You know, Todd's a great puller. Do I think RVJ can beat Todd over 6 rounds? I don't know. I mean, all you can go by what just happened, and what happened was Todd tried to get out of the match, and Rob wouldn't let him and pinned him. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. There's a lot of good matches that day, you know.
Oh, yeah, for sure. The finals are going to be crazy. There's so many amazing people in all the classes. But 195 seems to be the deepest class, I think, of the ones.
I was impressed with Chad Silvers beating Craig Touye like that.
Oh, yeah.
Me too, in the strap, too. And Craig's
very impressive.
Craig's amazing in the strap. And, you know, over the years, Chad's one of those guys. He's a lot like Vigent, where if he doesn't want you to slip, you're probably not going to slip. And
his hand's pretty strong.
Yeah, and I think the WAL setup is kind of it's making it hard for those guys to really clamp down because it's so, you know, the close the hands and it's quick. You don't really get a good chance to settle your fingers. And it seems like, to me anyway, I don't know if it's true or not, but it seems like Chad's been working his strap game a little bit better, and he really impressed me by beating Craig in the strap.
Yeah, I was very impressive. Very impressive.
How about Jeff Hale? There's another question about what do you think about the way he pulls.
I was so impressed watching him beat Kevin Bongard. I mean, but there's another Styles. I think Kevin Bongard could have pulled Doug Ehrlich really well. They never got to pull. But Doug Ehrlich pretty well took care of Jeff Hale pretty easy, but Jeff Hale beat Kevin Bongard. Jeff's short arm was too much of a leverage disadvantage for Kevin because it had to come down too far. And I think Kevin could have drove in there with Doug. Now, Doug was my pick to win that event, but I think Kevin could tie him up and give him hell, No, Jeff Hale, Jeff's a buddy of mine. We're good friends, so yeah, I've always been impressed with Jeff's performance on the table, his ability to transition, his all-around complete aspect of an arm wrestler. He has all the tools, and he's got a great personality to go with it.
Is there anybody that you look up to in terms of arm wrestling? Someone whose technique you feel like you watched and learned a lot from, or?
Not really. The guy I used to always look up to was Richard Lupke, just because he was such a gentleman. He's such a good guy, and he looks amazing.
Sure.
There's no one. I don't think I arm wrestle like anybody else. I think so much of mine. You're talking about Devin and Ron, everybody having good endurance. I don't even know if you can train for that. Devin trains endurance. I do high volume. I think it just comes down to just hating to lose. You know what I'm saying? And I just think I hate to lose more than anybody else. So, hell, look up to me. I'm the guy that inspires me. I don't know, man. I wish I had a bigger hand. If there's somehow I could get a bigger hand, that'd be cool. But no, I respect all the arm wrestlers, man, because we do something, for no money. We get out there for something we love. We don't get the respect as athletes that as we are. So anyone who's willing to get out there and train for arm wrestling, they got my respect.
Yeah, that's for damn sure.
Hey, Mike, I know you said you had to leave after about an hour, but I was curious if Rebecca's around, we could ask her a couple questions.
Sweetheart, you cool getting on camera? She said nobody said she had to have makeup on. Here she comes.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Rebecca, listen, we talked a little bit at Nationals, and you had said a few things about, the reasons you pull and that, it's fun to be part of it. And since you guys are traveling, you might as well pull anyway. But what is it like, being with Mike and having him be the person he is and traveling so many times and so many places for arm wrestling? What is that like for you?
Okay. Well, there's a lot of different angles there to that question. It's definitely being able to go to some of the places that we've gone to and places that I wouldn't have visited otherwise. I'm talking about like Germany, Puerto Rico, Kuwait. Those aren't places that I would have just jumped on a plane and gone to, but we went because of arm wrestling. And it's definitely allowed me to see a side of life that I wouldn't have otherwise. And then the competitions, okay, that's always a lot of fun. There is nothing like getting to watch him do what he does. That is so exciting to actually be ringside, as I would call it,
Sure.
Up close and personal and watch him pull. Now, I have the same experience now, though, watching my son.
Yeah.
So I got to tell you, the best part of this is having him working with my son, and they're actually helping each other. That is that's a really cool benefit that we have here. Now, as far as pulling myself, I will tell you, I don't like competing. I hate competing. I will practice here with anybody, anytime. I hate the stress and anxiety that comes along with competing. And the people that actually love it, they're always like, oh yeah, well, as soon as that goes away, I'm going to quit. Please, I want it to go away now. I hate that anxiety, but this last go around at Nationals, and then we pulled Shreveport last week. And dang it, if while we were gone at Nationals, my daughter didn't decide that she wants to get in on this family fun as well. So it appears now that because of his awesomeness.
Thanks, Mike.
That my children are both Well, my son is a champion, and he's got bigger aspirations. His goal one day is to beat this guy sitting right here next to me. But now my daughter, she wants to be a champion as well, and she has really got a competitive drive that I've never had. But anyways, all of that, long story short, I don't have any other choice. I'm competing. And apparently I've got to get good because they don't want me to be the only one that's not a champion, right? So that's where we're headed.
Who do you get more nervous watching, Mike or your son?
Okay, it's like this. I get nervous watching Michael because I know his injuries and I know how badly he's been hurt previously.
Sure.
And when we were at UL8, he tore your pec left.
Yeah, I had a partial tear in my pec against John in the finals.
And at that point, I was contemplating murdering everybody on the stage because my man got injured, right? I mean, I was mad as hell. Well, let me tell you what, are we on radio? Should I not have said that?
Oh, you can
say anything you want.
But I will tell you, when I'm watching my son, if you ever watch the videos that I do of him, I'm usually praying out loud the entire time. I get so nervous, and it literally pulls at my gut. I think if he were to be injured, I would probably have to go to the hospital myself just right then. So yeah, it makes me nervous. But I also know that my son, by having Michael in his corner with the training, he knows the proper techniques. He knows how to pull safely. So he's in good hands. Mm-hmm. Now, when y'all see my daughter start pulling soon, her arms are like that big around. Scares me to death. She's a twig. Yeah.
Yeah, I train. I'm in Minneapolis, and I train with a guy named Josh Handeland, and he was out in Atlantic City, and he saw Ryan pull, and he came back to me and he said, "Man, I'll tell you, I pulled that guy after, and he is strong."
He is strong.
So he's definitely getting his name around.
Shoot. I forgot. I've got to post a video because he wants me to post that video. He actually pulled in the strap. Out of the strap, he didn't have a chance against this guy. But in a strap, he pulled this dude that was 6'7",
330.
6'7", 330. He's
one of my clients, and
Michael strapped him to him, and my son owned him. Okay, 3 times the strap, and so he's very strong, but he's also a very smart puller. You know, some pullers have their one thing that they're really good at, and how they're going to win matches is they're going to just get better at that one thing and do it faster and harder, okay? Ryan is a thinker on the table, and he is thinking about what you're doing, and he is thinking about the counter move for what you're doing. He tries to tell his mom that stuff. I'm thinking I'm an old dog at this point because I don't know how to learn that trick. You know, I'm doing the best I can now.
I'm going to have to comment on the Josh Hanlon comment. That really meant a lot to Ryan.
Yeah.
When Josh said that, that's one of the strongest 121-pound people I've ever arm wrestled, Ryan goes, "You think he really meant that?" I'm like, well, meant it, so I guess he meant it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I saw him the next week at practice, and it was one of the first things he told me. So he definitely meant it.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, well, guys, this has been really awesome. So, like I said, I know you said you have to go after an hour, but we just really appreciate you guys coming on, sharing the time with us, and talking to people.
Yeah, thanks for having us, man. I appreciate it.
We'll
All right, no worries.
See you in July.
All right, take care.
Yeah, we'll be there in Rhode Island.
All right.